Who wants to bat second in this T20 World Cup? Well, put your hands up because the teams that are batting first are having their issues and I've got the remedy for them on Hoggs Vlog. Well, the teams that are batting first are losing it in the power play. They're trying to find too many boundaries rather than rotate the strike. And with this attitude, they're building up more dots and they're losing more wickets than the team batting second. What they've got to do is push the ones and try and turn those ones into twos with good running between the wickets and limit the dot balls. What that does is put pressure back on the opposition bowlers, and then they start to try and do something different, bowl that loose ball and give you an easy boundary option. Now, the best exponent of this has been Jos Buttler against Sri Lanka the other night. He batted right through the innings and he conserved his wicket. And it's the old adage, the longer you bat in tough conditions, the easier it gets. And he proved a point there. He got England into a commanding position and a total that they could defend out the back end. Now, all the teams batting first are a little bit worried about those dewy conditions in the evening. Well, you can't worry about that, okay? It's the bowler's job to defend it. It's your job to try and get as many runs on the board as possible. And the easiest way to do that is to have wickets in hand and your top three bat as long as possible, getting used to the conditions. Now, I'm going to expand on this later on in the vlog. That was a summary, so if you want to continue, join me. And I'm going to have a little analysis of Jos Buttler's innings against Sri Lanka out the back end. I've really enjoyed the last couple of days. There's been a couple of different approaches with teams batting first. Now, New Zealand and England were losing wickets early, but Buttler and Guptill, two opening batsmen, batted through the innings. Both of them knew that if they spent time out the crease, they'd find it easier on those foreign conditions to start finding the boundaries. And eventually they got a partnership, Guptill with Phillips and Buttler with Morgan. And eventually that was too much pressure for the opposition bowlers to keep applying the pressure. And there was a lot of loose balls being bowled and they capitalised on it. But Rowett and Rahul the other night against Afghanistan, they limited the dot ball count in the power play overs. And what that did, that created pressure on the Afghanistan bowlers. All of a sudden, there are a lot more loose balls to find those boundary options. But because they didn't lose any wickets early on, out the back end when Afghanistan brought on Rashid Khan, their biggest weapon, they were able to take a couple of extra risks that they wouldn't have done if they'd lost those early wickets. And all of a sudden, Rashid Khan had gone for 36 rather than his regulation 24 off his 4 overs. So India were well and truly in front on the equation then. So when you're batting in these tough conditions and you're batting first, yes, you want to get a good score on the board. You want to give your bowlers a bit of a buffer when they're bowling in those dewy conditions second. But you've got to have the right approach. You can't go out there and just look for boundaries off that good length when the ball's not coming on. You're giving the bowlers the opportunity of creating those wickets. You've got to run hard between the wickets like RIZWAN and BABAR, turn ones into twos. All of a sudden the fielders are under pressure, they start to make mistakes, and then the bowlers are under pressure and they start to bowl more loose balls, and you've got the ascendancy in your favour. And when you've got the wickets in hand, you've got the big hitters coming in the back end. Those better bowlers are going to be feeling under pressure as well, and they're going to start bowling those loose balls like the Rashid Khan, where you can hit those six boundaries, and all of a sudden you turn a 140 score into a 160 score. It's not that hard. Don't be aggressive. Don't lose early wickets. Otherwise, it's going to cost you in the back end. Now, let's go and have a look at Jos Buttler's approach against Sri Lanka. I absolutely loved it. Jos Buttler, for me, is the best T20 batsman going around in international cricket right now. The reason being, he's cool as a cucumber under pressure, and when the conditions don't suit him, he still sets himself up and tries to bat a little bit of extra time to get adjusted to the conditions, to get the percentages in his favour to the shots that he wants to play, to find those boundaries, to take the ascendancy away from the bowler. Now, he did that against Sri Lanka the other night. Early on, the ball wasn't coming onto the bat and it wasn't bouncing, so he had to adjust. He was playing a lot of shots where he's hitting the ball on the toe. But he wasn't trying to be over exuberant like the other batsmen who were trying to hit themselves out of trouble and they got themselves out. So he was just timing the ball into the gaps. Against the pace bowlers, if it was short, he was looking for those cut shots and the back foot drives and the pull shots. And if it came on, he was able to time that and capitalise. He was looking for the full ball as well. But it was against the spinners where I was really impressed with him. When the leg spinner came on, he was sitting on the back foot there, just seeing if there's any turn, see if there was any bounce that he could capitalise on, and he's just pushing it around. He realised there wasn't anything there where he could really pounce on. When the off spinner came on, he tried to use his feet and looked to take him down the ground. But there was no bounce there for him to get under it, and there was going to be a huge risk if he played those shots. All of a sudden, he started crouching to see if he could get under it and play those big shots and find the boundaries. But he didn't go for the big shots early. He just sat there and set himself up there with a couple of balls. And then as the innings came into those final 10 overs, that's where he started to pounce. He got himself, or he changed his stance to adapt to the conditions, to get himself in a position where he could play boundary shots where the percentages were more in his favour than the bowlers. And that's why he's the best in T20 cricket going around right now, batting out the top of the order. And that's why he got that 100 the other day and got England in a commanding position. And I think England are going to rely heavily on him in the finals to take this cup if they're going to hold it up at the end of the tournament. Now, a question for you guys. What's more important with your batting? To have big hitters out the back end, or to have a top three that can bat the majority of the innings, most of your games, and make the bulk of your runs? I'd like to see your answers downstairs, and we'll have a little bit of a chit chat on the comments downstairs. Thanks for joining me, guys, and stay safe and enjoy the T20 World Cup.